So with 2021 drawing to a close and 2022 getting closer and closer, BMX companies are starting to release their 2022 complete bikes, and with that, Kink has released promo videos for every single one of their 2022 complete bikes. And I thought that with that coming out, that it would be a great time to go over Kink BMX's complete BMX bike lineup, taking a look at prices, materials, and what you actually get for those prices on all of these bikes, and talk about the value of these bikes and maybe clue you guys into what you should take a look at and which ones are a better value for your money. So that being said, we're going to start at the 12-inch bikes in this Strider and move all the way up to the top of the line bike. So if you don't care about 12-inch through 18-inch bikes, skip a little forward in the video. I promise I'm going to be talking about the 20-inch bikes, but these are important to talk about as well because there's people who need these and want the information and to learn about the value of these things whenever they're looking to make a purchase. So first, let's talk about the Kink Coast 12-inch bike. This is a Strider bike, and the geometry, I don't know how much it matters at this point, but the geometry is listed here if you want to take a look at it, as well as the technical specs and the materials here. So the frame, fork, and bars are all made of high tensile steel. I don't know how much that's actually going to matter for any of these bikes up until you get to like the 14-inch range, just because of the fact that these are small kids. They're not going to be doing anything completely insane. Maybe they might be dropping off of some small drops, but if a high tensile steel frame can hold up on a 20-inch bike for someone riding it for a period of time, then I'm sure that a 14, a 12, maybe even a 16 would be just fine with this high tensile steel. So we're not going to go completely in depth with all of these things. Just know that the geometry is here. The materials are here. It's high tensile steel. And I feel for most of these bikes that we're talking about first here, it may be more about the fact that you're supporting a BMX company and getting a BMX company's bike that fits your child whenever you're buying this. A $200 price tag on this Strider it seems like it might be steep. I don't know how that compares to other Striders that are out there, but once again, it's that name thing and supporting an actual BMX company. And if you ride a Kink BMX bike or you ride an actual BMX bike, I feel like you'd be stoked to have your kid on the Strider or small bike from an actual BMX company. So if you need a Strider, it's high tensile steel. I'm sure this is going to be good for your kid. And if you want a real BMX bike company bike, this is what you go for. So moving on from there, we've got the Roaster 12-inch. This is an actual pedal bike. So it's got cranks, chain, back wheel, hub, all of that stuff meant to be pedaled. And it says here this is designed for children ages 4 and up, and the seat height is actually adjustable. All of the geometry is here as well. It's got a longer top tube than the Strider. It's got a longer chainstay length. It actually has a bottom bracket height now because you're pedaling it, not just using your feet. Standover is also taller. So this is also made of high tensile steel, probably the exact same material as the others. But it's got all of the other information here. It's got forged one-piece cranks, Mission unsealed front hub, unsealed coaster brake rear hub. But at the 12-inch size, I feel once again this is more about supporting the BMX company than going out and buying something that from Walmart or something like that. Something that is actually made with BMX in mind. I don't know how the geometry fits in that, but I don't want to keep repeating myself here and saying the exact same thing. So let's move on to the Pump 14-inch complete BMX bike from Kink. So this one comes in at $330, and what you're getting here is some actual real BMX parts. So the geometry on this one may actually matter to you, so let's go through it real quick. Top tube is 14.5 inches, chainstay is 10.25 inches, head tube angle 74, seat tube angle 70, standover height is 6.5 inches, bottom bracket height is 8.75 inches, and it's got a fork offset of 32 millimeters. It's got a real Mission function cassette rear hub. It's got Mission Tracker 2.25-inch tires and the updated Mission Cease V2 U-brake. So it's got real BMX parts on it. That probably contributes to that $330 price tag. Once again, all high tensile frame, fork, and bars. And as you can see here, all of the specs and different parts that make up this entire bike are listed for every single bike on Kink's website. So if you want more information about any bike that I talk about, or you want to read more about it, it's linked in the description down below to all of the listings of their bikes. You just pick the one you want, scroll down to tech specs, and there is your information. So on this one, it's got a semi-sealed rear cassette hub with an unsealed front hub, but at that $330 price point, you can't really expect more than what you're actually getting here. And at that 14-inch size, where we're starting to get into where there's more and more kids doing like real stuff on their bikes. Huck from Cleveland's riding a 14-inch, doing backflips, doing Supermans, hitting big jumps and stuff like that on a 14-inch bike, where the material is starting to matter at this point. But like I keep saying, on a 20-inch bike, there are high tensile steel frame, fork, and bars that people actually ride and do legit stuff on for periods of time. So I feel for a younger kid just getting started, this is probably going to be good. And if you end up breaking one of these or breaking something, I'm sure there's other parts available that are out there. You just might have to do more research to find them. So moving on from there, let's talk about the Carve 16-inch 2022 from Kink. So let's see, the price is $400 from this one, and it says the Carve 16 is the younger sibling of the Kicker 18, and what this comes with is 7-inch rise Kink T700 bars, a shorter reach 40mm Mission top load stem. So we're getting into more legit stuff here. It's got 3-piece tubular chromoly cranks. Those are more legit as well than the 1-piece, I'm assuming, steel cranks that were on the previous, or crank. It's got a sealed mid-bottom bracket, a sealed integrated headset. It's got modern tread design, 2.4-inch tires. So the specs on this one are as follows: 16.5-inch top tube, 11.25-inch chainstay, 74.5 degree head tube, 71 degree seat tube, 6.75-inch standover with a 9.75-inch bottom bracket height and a fork offset of 32mm. So let's check out the materials here. It's got high tensile steel frame, high tensile steel bars, but it's actually got chromoly steerer tube tapered fork legs on it. I'm assuming that means that I'm not sure, part of the fork is probably high tensile steel. So we're moving upward here. That $400 is getting you more. And compared to other 16-inch bikes, this may be a better value. It's got the integrated headset. It's got cranks that are chromoly on it. What else do we have? Semi-sealed cassette hub, unsealed front hub. So that's where they're cutting costs to get down to that $400 price point. But what you're actually getting is something that has real BMX parts on it as well, once again. And that is something to consider when you're looking at these bikes. And with that being said, it's another one of those things, same story about high tensile steel. Let's move on to the 18-inch. So the Kicker 18 from Kink comes in at a price point of $400. And before we get into what you're actually getting for that $400, let's talk about the geometry real quick for anyone who cares about that. Top tube length 18 inches, chainstay length 12.25 inches, head tube angle 74.5 degrees, seat tube angle 71 degrees, standover height 7.5 inches, bottom bracket height 10.75 inches, and it has a fork offset of 32mm. So we're approaching 20-inch BMX frame geometry at this point. The chainstay length is getting close. Head tube angle, same. Seat tube angle, same. Standover height, there are frames out there with 7.5-inch standover height. At least there has been in the past. It's getting there. Bottom bracket height is also approaching 20-inch BMX frame geometry. So it's moving you closer to that 20-inch BMX bike and bridging the gap. 12 to 14 to 16 to 18, moving all the way up. So you could start on a 12-inch and be learning stuff and comfortably move up. So right here, we're getting a lot more legit stuff here. So we're getting actual Kink grips. We're getting the Kink Bold 50mm stem. We're getting Mission Cease V2 brakes. We're getting 3-piece tubular chromoly cranks as well on this one. We're getting Mission Tracker 2.4-inch tires. We have a semi-sealed cassette hub, an unsealed front hub. So you're getting a little bit more for your money here. And I'm not sure exactly how this stands up in the 18-inch lineup, but I feel there's so few choices of 18, 16, 14, and 12-inch actual BMX bikes from real BMX companies out there that their prices are probably very, very similar for what you're getting. So once again, same thing goes for the material here. You're getting a couple real parts here though. Your brake lever is a real BMX brake lever, your brakes, your stem. A lot of this stuff as we approach the 20-inch lineup is getting closer to that. So here we get to the first 20-inch complete BMX bike for 2022 from Kink, the Curb. This one comes in at $370 retail. Comes in at 4 different colors. I know you guys probably don't care about that, but the geometry is all listed here. 20-inch top tube length, even. So this is that right next step up from that 18-inch. Chainstay length is 13.25, head tube 74.5 degrees, seat tube angle 71 degrees, standover height is 8.5 inches, bottom bracket height is 11.6 with a fork offset of 32 millimeters. So now we are at the normal geometry for a 20-inch even bike. Moving on to the technical specs, we have high tensile steel frame, fork, and handlebars once again, but it's $370. So you're getting the same back and front hub on this bike. You're getting similar parts here. It's a $370 complete BMX bike. And in 2021, where prices have started to rise, this is what you're going to get for that $370. There may be other companies out there that offer something similar at a lower price point, but generally this is going to be around what you're going to get. And at these lower price points, most complete bikes are about the same. It's once we get into the higher price points that things start to differentiate themselves and you get more at less of a price, or you get less at more of a price depending on the bike and the company once we get up in that range. So moving on from the Curb, that's like the budget. The Launch is also more of a budget, but it's a little bit more for that extra $40-ish. So moving on from there, the geometry on this one is 20.25 inches, chainstay 13.25 inches, head tube is 75 degrees now, 71 degree seat tube angle, standover height is 8.75 inches again, and bottom bracket height is 11.6 inches again, with fork offset also being 32 millimeters once again. So moving on from here, we've got same material on the frame, fork, and handlebars. What is costing us that extra money? So in comparison to the Curb, that $30 extra for the Launch is getting you an integrated sealed headset as well as a sealed mid-bottom bracket. The Curb actually had a 19 millimeter American bottom bracket with a unsealed threadless front headset assembly. So that means you're getting something that is a little bit better quality for your $30 extra for this Launch, as well as something that has a little bit different frame geometry. So moving on from the Launch to the Gap. Now we have a $40 price difference. Let's go down and take a look at the geometry. Once again, it's a 1/4 inch longer of a frame with a 9-inch standover height. That's a little bit taller. Same specs otherwise. Moving down to the technical specifications, what are we getting here? So this is a 100% 41 thermal chromoly head tube, top tube, and down tube. The steer tube is chromoly, and the bars are 100% 4130 chromoly here. So you're getting something that is much better quality in the actual material on the frame, fork, and handlebars. Other than that, let's see, we've got a sealed cassette hub here. So that sealed cassette hub is going to be better and last you longer than the semi-sealed of the previous bikes. It's got an unsealed front hub, but you can easily see where the money is going. This is $40 to get chromoly parts on your bike, which I fully believe is always worth it. So there's the specs there. The frame is a little bit bigger as well. So it looks like at this point at least, to get a shorter frame, you've got to go towards the lower end on the quality side of things, but that could change as we move up. So this is Gap FC. I'm assuming that it's free coaster. It's a $60 difference, and I'm going to just assume everything is the same except you're getting the Mission Deploy sealed free coaster on this one instead of a cassette hub. So that's costing you an extra $20. So let's move up to the Gap XL at the same $449 price point of the regular Gap. So it's the exact same thing, I'm assuming, just with a 21-inch frame. So Kink does a really good job of caring about frame sizes and geometry difference in their complete BMX bike lineup. There is something for everybody in here, no matter what size you are or what you're looking for. Now let's move to the whip. So the whip was the previous best value BMX bike for the money I felt in all of BMX. It previously came in at a $420 price point, then a $440 or $50 price point. Now it comes in at $500. So this is where things start to get to where I would recommend it. Unless you're somebody who is smaller and you don't have options for full chromoly frame, fork, and bars, then you might have to explore those other options. For anyone who is big enough to be riding a 20.5-inch bike, and that's what they're looking for, this is the bottom line that I would say you're good with. It's 100% chromoly frame, fork, and handlebars. It's got 3-piece tubular chromoly cranks in it. It's got sealed mid-bottom racket, sealed integrated headset, sealed front and rear hub. The rims are Mission Mylar rims. These are a double-walled rim. So it's got double-walled rims. This literally checks all of the boxes. This is the bike you go for if you want something that is going to last you for longer than a high tensile steel frame, fork, or bars complete bike will. This bike is the bike you get that you start replacing parts on as you want to replace them, not as they break quickly because you bought a lower quality bike. And that's just general knowledge in BMX, is that you're getting what you're paying for, and it's $140 to get you something that is much, much safer and higher quality. So this is bottom line for what I recommend in BMX. Moving on from there, we've got the Whip XL. I'm not even going to click on this one because I know it's the exact same bike with just a 21-inch top tube. I lied. It might be longer. Yeah, it's exact same bike, 21-inch top tube. So now we move from the Whip down to the Switch, which is $100 more, coming in at $600 even. And the only differences between the Whip and the Switch are geometric differences. All of the parts are the same. Obviously, the fork offset being 26 millimeter versus 32 millimeter means it's a different fork, but it's still going to be the same like material and quality. There's geometric differences here. So you can get 20.75-inch top tube with a chainstay length of 12.75 inches versus on the Whip having a 13.25-inch chainstay length and a head tube angle of 75 degrees, with the Switch having a 75.5 degree head tube angle. You get brakes with this one as well. They're just removable mounts. You also get 2 pegs with this one. So it's up to you to decide if the differences in geometry, as well as the fact that you get 2 pegs with it at all, are worth the extra $100. That's something to take a look at. Have you been riding very long? Have you been riding long enough to know that you want something with that geometry and how it's going to affect how riding feels? Because everything is the same here, except for the fact that you have a cassette and a free coaster and those geometric differences that I already talked about. So that's something that only really you can decide whenever you're taking a look at this. And when we looked at the Gap free coaster versus the Gap, the difference in free coaster versus not was only $20. So you have to determine if those price differences are worth it for you. If you've already been riding for a while and you know that your style lends to those geometry choices, then maybe it is a good decision. But if you haven't been, I would say the Whip is probably a better choice because you have that extra $100 to spend on other stuff if you wanted to. So let's move to the Cloud Complete. So this one is Travis Hughes' signature bike. Moving down, let's take a look at what the differences are. So the frame is the Kink Cloud frame, which is an aftermarket frame that they do sell separately. So you're getting that. You're getting 4 pegs with this one. You're getting 100% chromoly Kink Rex bars with Kink Trident forks. So the geometry on this bike is it's got a 21-inch top tube, a 13.25-inch chainstay, 75.5 degree head tube angle, seat tube angle is 71, standover height is 8.75, bottom bracket height is 11.65, and fork offset is 26 millimeters. So with this one, you're getting the Mission Dispatch sealed free coaster, which is different than the previous free coaster we mentioned, which was the Deploy. Rex bars are $80 aftermarket handlebars. So you're getting those. As we've checked previously, they don't sell the Trident forks separately. Same 3-piece tubular chromoly 8-spline cranks. So basically, once again, there is a difference of $150 from the Switch. You're getting those aftermarket handlebars as well as that aftermarket frame. When it comes to the handlebars, because they're 13 butted and use the TrueTherm technology, those are probably a better value than the other handlebars on these complete bikes. When it comes to the frame, it's probably pretty similar. The forks are the exact same forks from before. Crank's the same. Free Coaster is a little bit different. Maybe it has some different features on it. This is one where you're getting 2 extra pegs, I guess, from the Switch. But it feels like this one is one that maybe worth it, maybe not. Or do you spend the extra $150 to get the Williams complete at $899? We need to take a look at that one before we make any kind of judgment. And we should compare all three once we get through that. So the Williams Complete comes in at $900. That's $150 than the Cloud at $750. Moving down into the tech specs, we can see that the frame is Nathan Williams' signature aftermarket frame from Kink. The forks are Kink Foundation 2 forks, which are aftermarket forks from Kink. You can see them and buy them separately right here. Those are $150. How much is the frame? Let's just do it all here. The Williams frame is $400. So immediately that's $550 just for the frame and fork. Now let's take a look at the handlebars because those are Kink Williams signature bars as well. Those are $80. So that puts us up over $600. It has the Cinema ZX sealed free coaster as well as the Cinema ZX sealed front hub. And when you pull those up on their website, yeah, it's $169 or $170 right now on sale. But that added to that $600 something already puts us almost to $800. Then we've got $119 for the front wheel by itself. And that immediately just shows you the value that you're getting with this bike because we haven't even taken a look at the cranks yet. You actually can't buy the Kink Ridge cranks, but they are 48 spline. They're legit cranks. They're just not something you can buy. But I would go out to say, if their regular cranks cost $200, $160, I would go out and say that those cranks are at least worth $100, and that's putting us up towards $1,000, not even considering we have the Cinema Martinez stem. We've got all these legit parts on here, the half-link chain. All this stuff adds up to make a legit BMX bike. This is a real aftermarket complete BMX bike for $900. So would I say that you should buy the Cloud before you'd buy the Williams? I would personally say save $150 and get all of these legit aftermarket parts before you buy the Cloud because the Cloud has 8-spline cranks. It doesn't have that legit Martinez aftermarket stem. It doesn't have those same, the bars are 13 butted, but the Kink Williams frame has more technology in that. It has the aftermarket forks, the Cinema front and rear rims and hubs. Just everything about the Williams is better than the Cloud. And when it comes to the Switch at $600, should you save up $300 more to buy the Switch? No. I say buy the Whip and just get used to it. Save or use that extra $100 to replace parts as you need to on your bike, like your cranks, which are 8-spline. They'll last, but they're not going to last as long, and you're getting the same ones on the Switch. So just use that money in a smarter way unless you absolutely have to have this bike. I think that the Whip is a better value, and I think that the Williams is a better value, even though it's more expensive versus the Cloud. So there's actually one more bike here to talk about. That is the Drifter 2022, and that is actually a 26-inch bike. So let's take a look at the geometry here. It's got a 22.25-inch top tube length, a chainstay of 16 inches, 71-degree head tube angle, 73-degree seat tube angle, 13-inch standover, 12.25-inch bottom bracket height, and the fork offset is 26 millimeters. Technical specs, all chromoly frame, fork, and handlebars, sealed mid-bottom bracket, integrated headset. It's got a sealed cassette, sealed front hub. It's got all these legit parts on it. It does have the 8-spline chromoly cranks on it, but at least they're chromoly. And the price comes in at $600 for this. So I feel you're getting chromoly everything for that value, so you don't have to worry about quality as much. And if you're just cruising around on this bike or you're jumping it, you won't have to worry as much with that either. So at $600, it seems like it's a good value. There's probably cheaper, there's probably more expensive from other companies, but for what it is and in comparison to the 20-inch complete BMX bikes, it's not far off for being something bigger, requiring more material, no doubt costing a little bit more to make. So that being said, that is it for the Kink complete BMX bikes for 2022 and everything about them, from material to specs to parts that are on them and how they add up to the value that you're getting for those bikes. To reiterate, I think the Whip is still the best value complete BMX bike from Kink until you get to the Williams. If you're going to buy something, save your money and buy the Williams or buy the Whip and use that money as you need to replace things on it. Because the Williams is a complete aftermarket, complete BMX bike with all parts that you can buy separately, pretty much almost all parts you can buy separately that are all legit parts. So that being said, I hope you guys found some value in this video. And if you did, and you're new here or you haven't yet, hopefully you'll hit the subscribe button down below so we can see you tomorrow for another one. Thank you for watching. We'll see you then. Goodbye.